House Judiciary Committee backed a proposal which combines allowing people to carry concealed firearms without licenses and efforts to improve school safety. Yesterday, a Senate committee approved a similar measure to carry firearms in most public places. Some gun rights groups say the proposal is too weak. The Republican-dominated House committee voted 16-7 to approve the House version, allowing people to carry concealed guns without going through state licensure, background screening, and required training. It also would provide money for school hardening and take other steps to address safety. Supporters say it will allow people to decide for themselves about carrying concealed firearms for self-defense, while also discouraging mass shootings.
Those that are not law-abiding will continue to be not law-abiding, and this simply just removes one step in the permit process to allow people to permitless carry.
Opponents of the bill say will result in increased violence.
People on the street are already shooting each other over nothing. So now you get into a bumper stop on the interstate and all of a sudden everybody's armed and nobody knows where the guns are coming from.
As of January 31st, nearly 3 million people had Florida concealed weapons licenses. Now the House bill is ready to go to the full House after the annual legislative session.